All right, call it meeting to order. Approval of past minutes. Did everyone get a chance to review them? Any discussion, changes, questions?
Move to approve.
I'll
A
second.
motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. Okay, comments, suggestions from citizens present. I think this will be quick. No citizens present, so we'll move on. New business. 5A, discussion, possible action to approve the Croy Cross Cycle Race in Grandview Park. Under new business, Mike?
Yep, so I'll take it. So we received the application for Croy Cross Cycle Race to host an event in Grandview Park. The event would be November 13th and 14th, so over the weekend from basically all day, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. They would handle setup and tear down of the course. They understand that the restrooms wouldn't be available at this time, so they would have portable toilets come in, so on and so forth. We have hosted this event in Lakefront Park previously
Yeah, out there
and
in
Grandview as well. So this has happened previously and no issues with it ruining the grass or so on and so forth. So it's been a good event and chance for people to get out and race. So staff recommends approval.
I would move to approve.
I second.
Second, all right. Any
Sorry.
questions or discussions?
Yeah, a couple quick. So Mike, the layout, do they lay out that whole course? It's kind of a very bendy course, I noticed.
Yeah, Dog Solander is responsible for course design, so on and so forth. And he went out there and he measured and so on and actually wheeled it off. So they lay out the course. Yep.
Okay.
It's got to be a certain distance. It's more of the mountain bike, fat tire bike racing units out there.
And did you have any safety concerns about, I'm guessing they're crossing some of these different ways? on
You
these
know,
launch
if it
routes?
was earlier in the fall, like, you know, September, October, I would, but by
Okay.
November, little to no use of the park facility
Okay.
by any athletic teams or anything like that. So it should be, you know, anybody that's out there using it is usually in the dog park around November. So I foresee no
Okay,
hazards with pedestrians or other users.
And no issues last time, neighbors didn't
No,
say anything or,
nope, nope.
okay, anyone else? All right, so we have a motion, those in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next item is discussion and possible action to approve the application from the Salsa Spot to operate a food truck in Lakefront Park.
Yeah, so this is an extension of the RFP that we had submitted earlier this spring for food trucks to operate in Lakefront Park. We put out an RFP back in April, and at that time, we didn't get any return to us. Since then, this business who has been operating in the Menards parking lot, I don't know if you've seen this truck there. They caught wind of our RFP, and they were open to coming down and giving this spot a try. And so she submitted the application. It would operate Tuesday through Saturday, 11 to 3, so kind of over the lunch hour, serving tacos, burritos, enchiladas, that type of stuff out of the truck. So that we received that a couple weeks ago and just brought it to Park Board for your review and possible approval. You know, with the concession stand, we've been trying to fill the concession stand for a couple of years and haven't had any luck, so that's why we went with the food truck route this year. And seeing that it's kind of a 1-for-1 ratio, staff recommends approval. If we get any further applications, I might think otherwise, but because it is 1-for-1, I am recommending that. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Mike, do you know when they would start and then when it would finish? Is it, in other words, is it a summer kind of deal or is it a?
Yeah, so she's out the rest of this week, so you would probably start next week. And she would go probably to the end of September,
Okay.
Possibly October. In the issue sheet, I did say that this approval would expire at the end of the 2021 season, but I don't foresee her being down there in, you know, November, December when you know,
Yeah.
there's hardly anybody down there. It's more to kind of capture that beachfront crowd that's, you know, still out there during the August and September months.
Got it.
Kind of a trial run.
Thank you. I would move to approve.
Motion,
I'll second.
second. quick question on that. Do we, with this or just when we ran in the past, do we hold them to any kind of hours that they state they're going to be there? I mean, I know we're not go
Yep.
check up on them, but
Yeah.
if they lose interest after a couple weeks, do we just let them go or do we?
Yeah,
keep
we
an eye on-
have.
Okay.
Yeah, we have. We've left it up to the discretion of the operator. Obviously, when we were using the concession stand area, they were paying a lease
Yeah.
to operate out of there. This is a little different. They wouldn't be paying that. So, and we don't have any contract with a food truck that would operate out of there other than giving them permission to sell out of it.
Okay.
If that's something that we would maybe want to look to do in the future, have them pay kind of like an operating fee, so, that would be an option.
Okay.
For next year, if we want to continue to try and pursue this, where we could maybe write in the contract that, you have to operate X amount of times, so on and so forth. So, but I'm going to leave it up to her because it is a new thing down there. I want to leave it up to her. And I don't want to have her be committed if she's losing money.
Right,
And,
yeah, I agree.
so I don't want to put her in that position either. So that's kind of why we don't have anything at this point.
I'm assuming that they have their own liability insurance or some kind of, yeah.
Yep. And they would have to submit that before they would even begin to operate. So, and she understands that.
They run a generator or do they plug in or?
Oh, they have a generator.
Okay.
Yep.
So really, they're just parking and selling. Okay.
Yep.
And I'm noticing Nick's here tonight. Do we don't have any ordinances, do we have any ordinances on the books about food trucks or how, I don't know the details on that, I guess. Can you remind me?
Yeah, we can't have food trucks operate or sell on a public street.
Okay.
This being in a park, it's a little different, different set of circumstances, so we're able to use this, sales in the parks form to circumvent that, the ordinance, so on and so
Gotcha.
forth.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? We'll take a vote. Those in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion approved. Okay, moving on to old business. Discussion possible action for the St. Croix County parcel future parkland. And that goes to Mike.
Yep, so this is a continuation of our discussion from our 2 meetings ago, where a parcel of property that's connected to a future development in the city of Hudson, looking for the development of parkland. I believe that's why Nick is here tonight, just in case you have any questions about the development and so on and so forth. But the parcel of land is 2.5 acres. I included the location in your packet. It's kind of on the west side. There's a development going on the corner of old Highway 35 and Hanley Road, and as part of that, the developer is looking to sell back 2.5 acres of land to the city, which would be used as parkland in the future. At this point, there is no dollar amount associated. However, speaking with Mike Johnson, looking in the range of $75,000 to $100,000 approximately. And to purchase this piece of land, the city would need to obviously come up with the funds, and the thought is to use some of the Parkland Trust Fund on the south side of I-94 to acquire it. This parcel of property would not only serve the new development, but it would also serve the Hudson Meadows development, which is currently out there and has really no amenities to speak of. And I know Bill Alms has told me a couple different times how they kind of feel like they're out on an island out there, and they would greatly appreciate having some type of neighborhood facilities, whether it's just, some walking paths, little swing set, or, someplace to just take the kids and throw the ball around, just because the lots aren't very big out there. So there's definitely a need out there. It's just a matter of whether or not the park board supports obtaining this property. And then if we do make that recommendation, it would go to council. That parcel of land would then, if acquired, would come back to the park board for master planning. At that point, you would make recommendations, maybe go out to the site and walk around and come up with kind of a park plan, how we would develop it, if we want to kind of keep it more passive, what kind of amenities you want to see, so on and so forth. So that's why it's here tonight in front of you. Just making a recommendation to proceed the purchase of this parcel of property if you think it is a good fit within the city and in the future for the needs out on the east side of town. So hopefully I covered it all. Nick, I don't know if you want to speak to anything on behalf of your client.
My name is Nick Vivian. I'm an attorney with the Eckberg Lammers Law Firm right down the road here. And I represent the developer. We've been working on this particular development for quite some time, looking at different uses. But we came to the conclusion, working with staff, really in kind of a private-public partnership, that there's parkland needed in this part of the city, that there really are no parks in that particular quadrant serving that area. There's a little more land than we need for our development, which is going to be an apartment building. And ultimately, the way this area lays out, you have Meadowlark Lane that comes in to the north, or from the north, and then you've got Old Highway 35 on the east. And we've been able to work with the town, the city's worked with the town to get that access to Old Highway 35 approved. There was great concern from the neighbors that we not run traffic through Meadowlark on the north, and so that access to Old 35 was really important. But what it allowed us to do by gaining that access onto Old 35 South was then to keep Meadowlark closed as a cul-de-sac, but to run a trail through there, and to then dedicate that 2.5 acres to parkland, given the fact that the city has an interest in having a park in that area. So, not only do we think it's a good area for development, but it's a win-win for the city as well, because the city does acquire parkland, and it will tie both that apartment building and the neighborhood together, provide for a trail through there, and also provide for connectivity from the neighborhoods to the north with that trail down to Hanley and then over to Whitcamp Park and over to Heritage Greens and Red Cedar Canyon. So I really do think, from the perspective of being somebody who lives here locally, that we're addressing a number of different issues, not the least of which is creating park area, but then creating that connectivity so that residents on that side of Interstate 35 actually have a connection over to the rest of the city. And as I think everybody knows, most of that area over there is township. There's only a small part of the city on that side of 35. So I'm sure it's been a challenge to connect over the course of the years. And the fact that this has become an opportunity, I think, really helps solve some of those issues that are out there. So we've been working with Mike Mraz and Mike Johnson and talking about using park impact fees, park dedication fees to acquire that piece of property. That works. We haven't gotten into a discussion yet on purchase price, but first step is to get a recommendation from the park board, move that to the council. We're before the plan commission this evening on our final development plans, and ultimately we hope that everything will be in front of the council on the 16th for final approval. So certainly happy to take any questions if anybody has any.
Is the pricing discounted, or is that the fair value of that
No,
property?
it's discounted significantly. Developer purchased the entire parcel, which is 6 acres, for about $800,000.
Okay.
So we're talking about almost a 50% discount on the value.
And with that, maybe this is way too far looking, but, if we agree to that, is it just a chunk of grass that's kind of overgrown right now? Is there any, since you'll be doing earth moving and things like that, you speak about the paths, would you guys do any partnership with us and do some development in that? Again, I don't know who puts the paths in, if that's the city or rather than just an empty lot.
Yep.
Is that something that you'd be interested in, Mike, or would there? I don't know if other developers ever do that, but.
So I don't want to speak for Nick, but I'll speak on behalf of the city. I think
Yeah.
that there would be an opportunity to do a partnership or get some scope of services on pricing, since they are going to be out there doing, site work, dirt work, so on and so forth, that we could piggyback on top of that. Obviously, I think we would have to pay for such development, but maybe at a discounted price
Yeah.
or so on and so forth, seeing that they're already on site and it's just putting in a path. It's not overly extensive
Yeah.
work, but that's something I think that we could maybe speak on in the future and work together on that.
Well, and part of what we've talked about is, as well, we've got some park infrastructure that we have to put in as part of the development itself. We may move that infrastructure to the city's parcel, just to make it, you've got 2.5 acres there to utilize. So as opposed to having the apartment park infrastructure next to the apartment and then an big open space to actually make better use of that entire space. So we're certainly open when it comes to the master planning and how the city wants to see that particular parcel develop. And I have no doubt that we'll be able to work something out, given all the site prep that'll have to happen, that, it'll all happen at the same time. No question about it.
Thanks.
So if you look included in your packet was the park dedication fee spreadsheet, and this was from November of 2020. I haven't gotten an updated copy since then, but the Park Trust B, which is south of 94, has a balance of $450,000 approximately, right, a little over. And I know that the park board has, I want to say struggled, but had a hard time trying to find a spot to use those funds, just because they have to be tied to acquisition, initial development. That's kind of what those monies are used for. And so if you really think about it, on the south side of 94, you already have Anderson Park that's already built out. You have White Camp Park that's pretty much already built out, which was in the master plan. And that's pretty much it.
Yep.
So, we have acquired a small parcel with the Lee property development, just a small chunk of parkland there, like a third of an acre, maybe like a trail cut through, so on and so forth. But other than that, we really have no opportunities to use this money. And it's just, since my time here, it's just kind of been sitting in that fund for an opportunity to come along where we can, to use some of this, and this is best, an opportunity that's in front of us that we might be able to use that money on. So, obviously, I want to get your input on if you think it's a good idea, but from my perspective, I can't think of any other way where we're going to be able to spend that amount of money. And there's going to be continued development on the south side of town, with other, irons in the fire. So that dedication fund is going to continue to grow and grow and grow. So we need to use it. That's what it's intent for, right?
Mike, clarification, the splash pad at White Camp, could some of those park dedication funds for south of 94 be used for that?
So according to our previous attorney, Kathy Monkitrick, if it wasn't identified in the master plan, we weren't able to use the dedication funds for it. So correct me if I'm wrong, Deb, but I don't believe a splash pad was ever identified in White Camp Park at the master planning level. Now it's been talked about it after that.
Okay.
And so because of that, it was her recommendation that we weren't able to use those funds for that.
So the funds are only for acquisition or
Initial development.
initial, so it has to be in the plan from the get-go is what you're
Yes.
saying?
Yeah, and that's the problem. So there's impact fees and there's dedication funds. Impact fees are a little more lax on what you can use it for, but we have dedication funds. And this goes back to even before my time here and from like 2013. Kathy's recommendation was for us to spend down the dedication funds to zero and then change our ordinances to an impact fee-based system where it has a little more leniency on what we can spend it on. It can be for, other amenities that are, because if you think about it, when White Camp Park was developed, splash pads were kind of a new up-and-coming thing. So a lot of, pickleball, right? Nobody talked about pickleball 20 years ago.
Right.
So the dedication fees are a little more restrictive on what you can use and what the statutes are, say.
So if we change some of the statutes, you think we could access some of that funding?
So we would have to change the ordinances, and I kind of started this process. You need to go through, so the first step is the outdoor rec plan is getting that passed, right?
Yep.
When the water department was going through their utility rate study just recently, the same company that did their rate study, I brought them on board to kind of just do some initial screening on impact fees and what we needed to do. So they kind of gave me a list of things. You got to have current outdoor rec plan, like a facility needs assessment, which kind of goes two and two. And then based on that, they look at future development, population, expected growth. And then they have to They put a number together based upon all those variables, and that's what your impact fee is and what you can charge. So it's
Okay.
it's very extensive, and you can't just pick a number and say we're gonna charge, there has to be some background to it, otherwise people can challenge it, right?
Okay. And that's a whole
Yeah.
other issue, but I was just curious
Yeah.
about what we could or could not use that park dedication fee funds
Yep.
for. Well, I think, back to the issue, I think it makes sense. I think it's a good piece of land. I think it would meet a portion of the city that doesn't really have a lot of access to parks in that area. It would be connected to the trails, it sounds like, which makes a lot of sense. So I would move to approve the acquisition. I guess we don't have this isn't the motion, that's my motion, but we don't have a number, it sounds like, right? That it had to be negotiated later.
Right.
So this is just, what you want a motion tonight is just to move forward with the idea of purchasing, am I right?
Correct, yep.
So my motion would be to pursue that, or bring that to common council, however we need to do that, so.
Yep, just a recommendation to Commons Council to proceed with the purchase of the stated property.
Yep. Whatever he said, it was really good.
It's on the agenda packet.
Second?
I just wanted, so these funds,
Yep.
we could actually use the funds not just for the acquisition, but also for the development of
Yes.
this? Okay.
Yep.
And that's something I think to keep in mind when we look at, the Meadow site too. When we acquire it, to have an idea of what, we could do some spending in some of those areas, so, yeah. Just for future reference, so.
And there's actually no master plan for that either.
For the Lee property, so, yeah, not to go, so, the old dog site development, St. Croix Meadows, there's a parcel of land that is going to be deeded to the city, parkland. You have the parkland in the Lee property that's gonna be deeded to the city once the developments come, once it's finally accepted by common council, and then you have this property. So you have 3 parks that will eventually come into our system, which will all need to be planned for, so on and so forth. The one in the St. Croix Meadows development and Lee property development are smaller in nature. This one is, 2.5 acres, so it's a decent sized park where you can put a small playground or something like that, depends upon what the board wants to do. But there are 3 sites that we would bring into the outdoor rec plan for, and help fund for development, yes.
Yeah, and that apartment complex to be built still in that neighborhood north there, that'd be great for those
Oh,
kids
yeah.
in that neighborhood, so.
Yeah, I've
Good
heard,
neighborhood park.
yep, I've heard a couple of different times since my time here, just how they feel like they're out on an island out there, they're
Yeah.
kind of disconnected
Yeah.
across Highway 35, and they're like, they can't even walk to the parks or nothing out there, so I mean, it
Right.
definitely feels a need,
All right, any other discussion? All right, those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved. Thanks for your input on that. Project updates?
Other than concert series still going on, athletic events are pretty much winding down. Our seasonal help, majority of our seasonal help will be done here in the next couple of weeks. Still going strong on reservations. The kayak canoe access projects, they're set to start, what did Gary say? Probably 2 to 3 weeks from now, you'll start to see some activity on those, on Orange and on the end of St. Croix, so that's coming down the pipeline. Those will get finished this fall here, so other than that, I mean, our parks have been busier than ever the last couple of years, and just people continue to be outside and get outside, and, yeah, it's been great. Have you heard anything about the Locket program from the YMCA? I haven't either, so I'll bring an update on that next meeting, but that's pretty much all I got.
Girl Scout one, that's it.
Oh, yeah, Girl Scouts. I met with them this last week for their selfie stand, and they are going to install that this week. We picked out a location, kind of out of the way of our events down there, and they're happy with it, so that'll be going in next week.
One quick question, Mike, the Grandview softball field's the one that we converted to the
Yep.
13, I think it was UA 13 or whatever this. How has that worked out this summer? Because that was very controversial in the spring, but I just want to know how it worked out.
Yeah, it was, and to be honest, since we voted on it and it got approved and got done, I didn't hear a single word of negativity on why we did this, or, you know, it ruined our, there was some adjustments that had to be made, but I mean, it's, 5 more feet of infield dirt isn't gonna make or break the field out there. So, it worked out well. They could use it for softball, they could use it for baseball. And it was good for the 13 U's to have a home to play within the, you know, that whole area, because that's pretty much the only spot that they had available. So,
Good.
yep,
I'm
it worked
glad
out
to hear
good.
that. Awesome.
Yep.
Okay, communications and items for future agendas, outdoor rec plan.
Yep, so we discussed this one at the Grandview Park Pavilion last month. Haven't had a chance to make any of the amendments yet. Been a little busy with some other things, so I'll make those changes here over the next month and bring it forward in September for final review and approval at that time.
Okay. Any other topics to discuss or for future agendas?
The only thing I can think of, but it may or may not be related, is, you know, some of that federal money that the city's getting, I don't know the guidelines on that. I don't know if that relates to parks at all. So you know what I'm talking about, it's like 1.25 million or something like that, or, I don't know exactly, I haven't seen anything on that yet, but I guess if there's anything that was relevant to parks, it might be worth talking about. I just don't know what the parameters are on for that.
Yeah, I'll bring those as well. And then we can start thinking about different amenities or something like that we want to put in the parks, because from what I understand, it's changed a lot from their initial,
Okay.
you know, discussions. At first, it was really restrictive, and then they've kind of lessened those over the last couple of months, and it can be used for outdoor recreation amenities just because it deals with people getting outside, you know, type thing where they're not susceptible to COVID. So, yeah,
Okay.
I will. We'll bring that forward.
Awesome, thank you.
All right,
Move to adjourn?
Second.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned.
Thank you.